Hello there, how's your day? Ame Gakita. Alright, today we're going to talk about Black Myth Wukong, the success of it, as well as it's more towards like how the success of the game actually is being backfired on other game company as well as the game media. So putting everything into simple context, actually it actually stemmed from the game initially was actually like the game company who create Black Myth Wukong game size initially rejected the 7 million extortion or the 7 million cost fee by consultation fee of trying to add DEI to the game. So what is DEI? DEI is basically simple term for diversity, equality, and inclusive. And in regards to that, it got a lot of backlash for not including that, more so by the game media. So recently, when the game got announced in back then, that a lot of people from then to now will realize that there's a lot of news of game media by game journalists or whatsoever you want to call them along the line, where they kind of like bash the game for sexism or allegation, or even with stuff that they're saying that they are not including DEI along the line. And it got so weird that why would Western people make off of a game that was based on a story that was based off a novel that is, for some reason, that they are so idiotic to never know that it is a very historical story. A historical story that if you go and search up Journey to the West, is actually published in 1592. Yes, is it almost like 500 years old already? Or maybe also I'm not good in maths. But when consider look at the number of years, this is a very, very old book. So obviously when you think about it, there is like indication that this book has a very historical meaning to the Chinese. And more so that even I myself do watch a movie, not a movie, the original series in that actually belong to the Journey to the West 1986. Yes, it's a very, very old drama, and I recommend people to go and check that out. It is, I believe, free in YouTube. There is the English as well as the Chinese version, if you depending on which one you go for. It is so iconic and majestic that it was one of the considered best series back then. Although the graphic will be definitely not as what you guys might think as compared to now, but it's a very, very old series that it kind of like became the majestic, the iconic of the Journey to the West. So in regards to that, there are a lot of reference to that series in the Black Myth Wukong, and you can just feel that there is homage given to that series, showing respect to the original one where it got popular back then. So when you think about it, how can Western people start making noise about it? Obviously saying that there was no female, even though there is female boss, female character in the game. There is no DEI when in this is based on the very old traditional world where everything is traditional and DEI is not even part of that world at the time. So for somehow, some way, somewhat, some Western journalists or Western DEI consultation firm decided that back then there is such a thing. I mean, like maybe in ancient Rome there may be such a thing, but in Chinese I don't think there was such a thing. So it's really hard to justify that. But even so, the only moment that you can have a justification of a transgender is more towards on something similar is basically the servant that work in the ancient Chinese, where they have to, yes, remove their male piper part in order to work in that, because they trying to prevent guys from pregnanting anyone just for the sake of their loss. So that's the only thing. Ancient Chinese now don't gonna do that. It's just that it was what they did in the past. So in regards to that, right, obviously it doesn't sit well with Western traveler and I mean the journalist, sorry, the Western journalists, the game media, the Western game company as well, because that they are not going with the consultation firm along the line. So there was a lot of attack, a lot of hit piece created by the Western media, IGN, Kotaku, PC Gamer, all of them just wrote a lot of different hit piece, and for some reason it didn't work well. It didn't work well because gamers realized that a lot of company or the game journalists have been working under the concentration that the modern audience want DEI. They want character to be uglified. They want the character to not look good. They want the story to make no sense. But obviously it is not what gamers want, and it had been towards the point of that game is to be made by a game company with the gamers in mind, because when a gamer loves the game, they will support the game company. But when you create a game that is not catered for the gamers, then obviously you'll be having a game company that is giving or selling product to no one. So obviously that is not the mindset of modern game company at this point, because if they say there is a modern audience, so there is a modern game company. But somehow, someway, somewhat, game company in the Western side just couldn't understand the logic that if you want to sell your game to a gamers, make with the gamer in mind. But they decided that DEI is the way to go, and obviously a lot of game doesn't work that anymore. So a lot of games, like recent games, it just like when there is a moment of DI in it, they don't have a lot of gamers. There is no support for it. There is no people wanting to play the game, because a lot of time when a lot of people talk about the game, it considered a failure. There is like a lot of things that the story doesn't make sense. There is also the graphic doesn't even look nice, and it's really kind of like questioning like where did the money go? Like you could have used the budget instead of go and consulting on a firm that trying to make your game worse. Why not just go and hire better talents to make the game better? Instead, DEI became so bad that a lot of games just became failure. One of the reasons big game, so-called big game that actually flood so badly is Suicide Squad. The games got so worse to the point that a lot of people don't even bother with the game anymore, even though there is like so-called thousands of players. But how about let's just make it that let's have the game that was released recently, Black Myth Wukong, to have over 2 million players, and more so that it also take the record of the historical moment, because single player game, one of the top. Concurrent player as well, one of the top. So in a way, Black Myth Wukong has become one of the iconic game now, because it's take the market by storm, all because of their decision to ensure that it is to according to what they want, what they wish for the game, as well as with the gamer in mind. So the game obviously got a lot of people talking about it, and it is a game that is fit well with many people. Sure, I know some game people will go and say that it's similar to Soul game with a combination of God of War and what's not, and obviously people will try to discredit the game in a way. But if you go and check out some popular game review, one of the best gamers, they will give it that it is a combination of all, but it is a standalone. I've seen the gameplay of many players, so I have seen and is aware of the gameplay. So there is quite a few similarity that you can find in the game on other Western game like God of War and Soul game. But even so, the game Black Myth Wukong, it is have its own sort of game mechanic, that it got its own moment, and in a way it has covered quite a lot of bases that what make a game a good game. So that inclusive of giving the player to have a choice of going with a different build at the start of the game, to ensuring that you have a lot of resting spot in the game, in the map. And the one part of it is that the game doesn't really follow a single path. You can just go with anywhere you go. You can even go and fight a boss even you're weak, or if you're gamer enough, or you can go and slowly build your game up and slowly to make sure your character is strong enough to go and fight the boss. So some people I've seen, they just really jump to the boss without a damn care, and some get trash, some get like first try, and it really shows just how great the game is, because every player have like every gameplay I've seen is always different, and that show that the game is not like there is no one way to play the game. And obviously, like some people will feel some of the part a bit janky, all this and what's not. But when you look at the difficulties, it's actually not that difficult. Unlike Soul game, Soul game has its own difficulties, but Black Myth Wukong has its own set of difficulties. So it's really kind of like you can understand that the game is really showing that it's catered for the gamers, because it can either let you go and play it casually, or if you want to go and rush for it and you can just go for it. It's like it's totally catered for every single gamers. So with that in mind, it's really kind of like indicating that when you want to give a great game, you have to make sure that it's a game mechanic that everyone can freely explore. Now, in regards to another thing that actually do get a lot of people talking as well is the graphic. I know that if you are having like the 4000 series, 4060, 4070, 4080, and 4090 of the NVIDIA, obviously it's going to ensure that you're going to have the best experience out of them, even for me who is using a 4060. Obviously, if you're using the AMD's Radeon series, which is the 7000 series or 6000 series, is still workable. It's just that to some people it may not look good as well. But when you look at the graphic, right, even at the low setting, it does seem that it really shows how good the game effect is. Even if you remove the min or you lighten up the dark backlight along the line, it's still gonna look damn good. So it does show that the game company's game size is actually ensuring that their base is really, as what I say, cover all base, even though there is a few bugs. But the few bugs is not like really to the point of setting like the game is gonna crash the game or having character just do something weird along the line. So far there is not. So maybe in future someone will go and find it out, but who knows. But at the time of this, it's showing that the game is running so smoothly to the point that even Amos Go and Charlie Penguin 00, they enjoy the game. If they can enjoy the game, then it just shows how great the game is. And you really do need to understand why it backfired on the game media of the Western side. So let's discuss that. When the game actually do get released, right, it had reached over 2 million concurrent players. Even though we can take with that amount with a grain of salt, because sometimes there will be 1 or 2 players who doesn't like this sort of game. They feel like it's not what they want. They may just decide to refund the game. That's understandable. Obviously, you have to think that it is not catered to all of them. But obviously, if you think about it at the same time, if it catered to even like over 90%, 2 million, even if you take out almost like 0.2 of it, it's still 2 million players. It's still showing that it is a success, unlike game that is released by the DEI with my. So if you add in like the DEI, obviously like a lot of game, even the game that is DEI that is released on the same day as Black Myth Wukong, that didn't reach over 1k. Yet this one had reached over 2 million. It's just to show how successful the game is, and to actually kind of like throwing fat at Western game company that if you want the game to be successful, don't include DEI. I'm not saying that you can't include every DEI in a way, but if you want to add in like 1 or 2 things to it, is understandable. Just don't make it entirely DEI. Because the moment you start everything to be DEI, that's when things went wrong. And it's obviously when gamers start feeling that they don't want the game, they won't play the game, they won't buy the game. So looking at Suicide Squad and comparison to the game of this, you can just see how successful Black Myth Wukong is and taking record all throughout. Like, it reached over even the game that was considered success is Power. So considering that, Black Myth Wukong is really one of the successful game right now, and I kind of like cover about the issue that even like game media trying to put in bad review about the game when they got the first gameplay. Game media decided to say also kind of like the reason why I say it's also backlash on them is that despite game media putting out bad review as well as hit article against the game company, a lot of gamers who play the game give the game high score, unlike the game score that was given by the game media like IGN, Kotaku, and PC Gamer and Screen Rap. So all those game media company is now became so pathetic, and not, you guys don't hear me using this word much, because the reason why I say it's pathetic is because when a game company media decided to put out a bad review, even though when a gamer put out a good review, it's just to show how out of touch the gamers or the game journalists are at those companies. When you think about it, when they give bad review, like if IGN give bad review, if GameScreen give it a bad review, obviously gamer is going to take a look and give it a check. But with almost 2 million, like with over 2 million players, and most of them are giving it high review to almost a full score. At the time, the score is around 80 to 90%, and that's a very high score. So when you think about over 90% of the player base are happy about it. It just proves to show that, hey, if they're happy about it, and they are like, the graphic is nice, there is no DEI, the story makes sense, maybe some part don't make sense, but it's so engaging that if people like it, that's proof how good the game is. People will support the game as long as everything is good. So the only issue that why I say it's also backfire on Western game company is that a lot of Western game company have been adding DEI to their game, and obviously when those games get released, no one is going to play those games. Not saying that there is no players, as long as there is like more than one players, then that is considered a success. The only issue is that when you have game company that is calling their game AAA game, quadrillion for A game, like even like Assassin's Creed and Star Wars going to get released a new game called the Assassin's Creed Shadow, as well as the Star Wars Outlaw. The only issue is that they claim their game to be best game ever with the best graphic, everything. But if in the case that they do get, even if they could get game review from the game media, like let's say IGN decided to give it 9 out of 10, but if players play the game and they give it a 1 out of 10, it's just gonna show how idiotic that game media are, because they have been so-called bright into writing good review, as well as that they became uncredible because their story is totally, their review is totally being bright, it totally doesn't make sense. The whole thing isn't, it just doesn't like it just doesn't sit well with a lot of people. So when that actually happened, obviously it's not looking good, because if you think about it, right, when a game media write a lot of lies or fake review, obviously gamer is not gonna trust that, because they just throwing their reputation to the ground. At this point of time, I know a lot of people telling me that game media credibility now has been washed all the way to the ground, washed down the drain, or into the beyond abyss along the line. I understand. I talk about that in my random chat, link in the description below. So the only issue that why it actually do set back against the Western game company as well as the game media, if you think about it, right? If the game media don't write good review for a good game, but write good bad review for it, and as well as writing a good review for a bad game, obviously it means that the game media company is no longer trustable. There is no way to trust them. People will either just bash on them, people will make joke about them, and no one just want to trust them anymore. So and it became the part where if the game company, if the game media company write a bad review about a game, the game is going to be a good one. But if they write a bad game review about a good game, then they're going to buy the game, because that's how it seems to go. But obviously gamers do know when a game is good or not, so not everything means the opposite. So obviously there is a lot of people who love to give a proper game review, and the gamers are the best source of information. Secondly, why it also kind of like backfire on game company on the Western side is that a lot of Western game company, like I mentioned, had include DEI into it. So the moment they add DEI to it, it is gonna get some alert on gamers base or whatsoever. And obviously, like what Rev said in his taught in his video, and I recommend you guys go and check his video out, that you are not going to have a lot of buyers, game people who are going to play the game. It is going to be like 1,000 or less, or maybe in rare case you get almost 1,000 or 1,000 and above. So considering that those games had DEI, obviously you will know that a lot of gamers just feel like, hey, I might as well just save the money up and buy another game that may be considered a good game. And in this case, a lot of gamers decided to buy all these games, decided to go for Black Myth Wukong. Even though Black Myth Wukong is the same price as game companies say that their game is DEI inclusive, but if the thing is, right, if those as well, like even if they claim, I can't recall which company was it, but they claim that their game is 4 A's, not 3 A's. Yeah, Black Myth Wukong had just been had taken the game industry by storm. So in a way, they don't include DI. The graphic is good, the game is good, the story is good, the mechanical is good. So in a way, you think about it, right, it's really kind of weird, because like Suicide Squad, one of the best, so-called their best game, don't even have all-time peak of over 20k. So it's really show how bad and how out of touch game company are in Western side, and it just show that if you really want to cater to the gamer, you really should cater for the gamers. If you're catering to modern audience, which is basically make up of less than 10%, then obviously that less than 10% you are not going to earn much. The first thing you definitely will be knowing that your company is going to make a huge loss, you're gonna have a lot of layoff, and the last thing you will definitely be seeing the bankrupt of the game company, which I think a lot of gamers will definitely want, and to the point that some people say that gamers want the game company to fail, they want the game to fail. No, it's not really they don't want the game company to fail, it's more towards the game company is setting themselves for failure. So it's really kind of like, it's so idiotic how game company are not even realize the simple mindset that it's not that if you want to add in DI, by all means go ahead, but make sure that it's 3 criteria that hit: good game graphic, good game story, as well as good game mechanic. If you can hit all this score, I think it should be good. But the moment that you start adding DI, obviously the one that will take the hit will be the game graphic as well as the game story. Because even if you say the game graphic, the character, if you make them like look weird, people will say make joke of it, yes, but it's not gonna get more people to play the game. Not because they say you look realistic. A lot of people always say that, oh, game is fiction. So if a game is fiction, there's nothing wrong on making the character nice, right? Well, if you take in, for everyone who is against the DEI, if you look from their perspective, they will also give the idea that, hey, if it's fiction, there's nothing wrong with making a game character ugly, right? Well, to me, I think it's not wrong. But if you look at Black Myth Wukong, they is so diverse. The game characters are so diverse in the way that when you look at it, there is some sort of diversity in it. So I don't understand why game media try to say that it's not, DI trying to say it's not, when there is already like every character is unique, it's so nice, it's so, even if not all of them look good, there is still like when you look at it, it's either cute or interesting or nice. Not like some sort of fiesta or things that you just want to hold a long metal stick and try to whack it and destroy it along the line. But hey, it's just basically something to talk about. But the one thing is that when you think about it, right, the game media right now, like I mentioned, there is also another reason why it also hit badly on them, like I mentioned, is that like game journalists who try to extort and smear the company, the Black Myth Wukong game as well, is that if you look at it, right, that a lot of game media company, they smear them, and to the point that even the game success, right, totally backfire on them, and it actually got some of them into hiding mode. So some of them so-called left Twitter, but I feel like they are just hiding around the line. So when you look at the whole situation, it really does not look good on a lot of game media, because when you look at it, it's just showing how, like, this incident really showing how game media have been so-called going on smearing campaign or putting out false information out there, and it's really became like, when I look at it, like, you can't trust them anymore. They claim that they put out good article, but when you think about it, like, let's use IGN. IGN started out with the smear campaign. They were the one who go and misinterpret and say that the game company is a sexism or trying to allege them as such, to the point that right now the same company IGN decided to say, hey, the game is the most well-played single player of the game of the all time along the line. So it's really showing that they are trying to backpedal, trying to gain back the trust of player, and this sort of article is just trying to do some damage control, which is, to me, way too late. It's not a little too late. They could have done this before the game was released, but because they decided to do it after the success, it's just to show how pathetic they are, which is the reason why I use the word pathetic on game media. But again, it's really something to look for. And another game that game company and game media have been trying to smear, which is Stellar Blade. So Swift Up, the same company who create Nikkei, the Goddess of Victory, the game company decided to finally ensure that it is going to be performed, like the game is going to be released on PC. The game initially was released on Sony PlayStation 5. I believe it's under a contract, which is the reason why they have a buffer time to not release it as every game console at the same time. So I believe that Sony have the exclusive right for maybe like ensuring that a period of time that people will buy PS5 just to play Stellar Blade. So those who hold out definitely will get to just play the version of the Stellar Blade on the PC version. And considering that PC version have no DEI, the game also have no DEI, as well as that there is no censorship in the game itself. So I think it's gonna be even more impressive on the game, because if they say expect it to perform even better on PC, yeah. The one different about PC as well as console is that PC sometimes have, if you RAM it up, have more RAM, better processor, better graphic card, then hey, your game is good to go. It may look better than the PS5, it may be run smoother than PS5, who knows. But the one thing that I do know is that all I say today is a speculative thought, just my that is I'm giving out. So if you want to take it with a few pins of salt, by all means go ahead, throw the salt at the screen if you need to. So don't they know that this is us all random chat. So in a way, if you agree or disagree, write in the comment below, we can discuss it further. But till then, if you do like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe for more random chat where I talk about stuff that sometimes follow a single trend or novel, or maybe it doesn't make sense. But the one thing that I can make sure is I hope you guys have a nice day online. Bye.